last year they finished, which would have been today, so they went back to school for one day after the holiday.
That was a good quote that you dropped off last week. For the,
Okay.
Mark, I would like to help.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. This was very nice.
Oh, yeah.
Very nice.
It also fits a lot, Dave, so.
Yeah, okay, yeah, okay, but that's a different discussion,
Yes, completely.
right? Because that we don't even have to probably get into at this point because we could debate it and it won't make any difference because there's too many factors at play. Okay, so Marco, you're here and you're online. Celia's online. Okay, and it's.
Yeah.
Are you gonna?
Yeah, I think I might. Yeah.
Okay, let's do this.
Who are we missing still? Alexandra.
All right. Good evening, and welcome to the Master Plan Advisory Group meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order. We have a quorum here. Yeah, we have a quorum. We have 6, and there's 10 of us. So let's, and if you count Marco being here twice.
So we have-
It's just to follow the questions on the chat.
Good, thank you, I appreciate it. So, yeah, so we do have a quorum. So I would like to call the meeting to order, verify the meeting was properly noticed. So today, we have at least 3 topics to discuss that I had on the agenda, plus any other topics that you would all like to discuss. And the 3 topics are: 1, just to talk about where we are in terms of the work that we've been doing and the schedule and the timeline and the scope for the master plan vis-a-vis the information that many of us received last week in the meeting that took place between CROA and CDD Board of Directors. Second topic is to talk about our 16 projects. And then the third topic is I'm just going to propose a schedule for the remaining work that needs to be done that's somewhat consistent with what we've talked about in the past. Does anybody want to add any agenda items before we start? Okey dokey.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So we want to talk about those questions I had with the survey?
Yeah,
So
so
let's add that in there.
yeah, so add that in there and we'll stick, we'll see how time is, but I don't want to.
Yeah, just the
Right,
ones
right.
that we just discussed, the more like the housekeeping questions
You know
that
what?
I have.
Do you have,
Yeah, you want to
Remember what
start
they're-
with those?
let's start with
Because
those,
I really like
yes.
for Jared and Katie to be here for the first agenda item, and they were.
yes, considering that's the, and Celia has since dropped off. So, yeah, so why don't we do that? Because we
Okay.
don't need, and we have, I'm assuming Marco, and that's, or Laura might just says Marco, there's nobody else on Zoom.
That is correct.
Okay, but just as a reminder, the meeting is still being recorded.
Okay.
Okay, so yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so just a couple housekeeping. I started going through some of the survey data, and one thing, one of them was around what village. There was a lot of people who don't know what village they're in. But then they would say, like, I don't know what village I'm in, but then write Georgetown. So we know, or Siena. So we know what villages they are before I want to be very transparent. And do you want me to fix that so they show in the appropriate village and kind of sanitize that data? Or do we leave it as is and leave the anomalies?
I would propose, just to get the discussion going, that to the extent possible with the information you have, that you manually adjust and correct, not
Because
correct.
some were like celebrating
Clarify.
village and they didn't put, they put I don't know, or it wasn't listed and they put main village.
So
So like, I mean, there's certain ones where we clearly know. I would not change anything. It was not black and white.
I think you would clarify it as opposed to correct it or anything. It's-
I agree. I think anything that is close enough that you can make that determination, absolutely.
Any dissensions on that?
No.
No, proceed.
Then I'll do that. And then the other question that we had was also around, we talked to Jared and before. So there was The way the survey data came in, there was 2 collector IDs. And one of the collector IDs, each response that came in through that collector had an email address and name associated with it. And then there were 67 results that were tied to the second collector ID that do not have that information. So I wanted to verify what those were, what's the distinction, and make sure that they're valid.
The original collector ID was the original email blast that was sent out to all homeowners. The second collector response was the link that we individually emailed owners of duplicate homes or people that said they did not get a survey emailed to them.
And that was still a one-time use link that was sent to them. Okay, so it wasn't like we just wanted to make sure that there weren't any
That's what I assumed it was.
situations where like someone would pass it on and then like, the 10 of their friends would fill it out. Okay,
Thank you.
so that's valid then. Those were my 2 housekeeping questions before we.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
went
I
in.
appreciate the work you're doing and you'll continue to do on that.
Krista, do you need any help?
I'll send out an email and we can work at a working session. I've got some good stuff already put together. Things we just want to, there's the question I asked Lauren, I think I asked for the, okay. So just for the record too, I asked for what are the number of households per village. Mostly it's not so much that it validates or invalidates any of the data. It's to more just make sure we understand the respondent demographic compared to what the community is. And it's just to say that, as we're looking at, we can add an asterisk that says this is, Artisan Park, I'll give that an example. They're the highest respondents of the survey. Are they the largest village in Celebration? So maybe Artisan Park over-indexed on people, where maybe, North Village is really large. I don't have that number in front of me, but maybe if they had, I just want to make sure that we understand how the different villages indexed into the survey when we're looking at the results, because it's good information. Same with like the age demographic we were talking about a little bit too. So there's some over-indexing and under-indexing based on what we know the population makeup to be. So.
Thank you. Okay, now I'd like to get back to our regularly scheduled agenda item. The first item, so last Tuesday, how many of you were at the meeting or listened in or participated?
The whole entire.
No, just any part of it. So everybody but
CCD.
the work session last Tuesday. So Mark, you're the only one who missed it.
Nope, you.
No,
I was there.
Mike was there as well.
Yeah.
Oh, you
Yeah.
were? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we all, were. Okay, good.
And
So-
Alex was on.
And Alex was on the phone. Yeah, Alec. All right, so here's what I would propose, how to have a somewhat structured discussion on this topic. I'd like, to the extent that any of us, and Alec is now joined on the phone. So Alec and those in the room, what I would propose is to get your thoughts on how you think the meeting went, whether or not as a result of that meeting or anything you've heard before, during, or after, or read, that would give you any recommendation to change the mission of our group, the scope of what we're doing, or the timeline. So reflections on the meeting, discussion timeline, and then any other comments you may have just as it related to the effectiveness of the meeting. So if you want, we'll just kind of go around, and just to get the ball rolling, I'll go first. So just as far as the meeting itself, I was kind of had mixed feelings on it. I thought it was good that we were having a meeting, but I have to say, genuinely disappointed overall with the meeting, with the discussion, with the format. And so specifically, I thought it was going to be like a working session, right? Like in my experience with working session, a workshop. Okay, I forget what it was labeled. I took a picture of it, and what it was labeled, what it was, when I didn't realize that the meeting was scheduled for an hour and a half, and an hour and 20 minutes into it, they said, gee, would anybody from the master plan group like to say anything? Right, and prior to that, I did keep track of the minutes who got spent how much, but I won't share that. But it was basically Dick's Heights, talking about themselves and the great work that they're going to do and how much money they're going to charge and all that. That's fine. But that's not a workshop. That's them. They could have sent that presentation out and all could have read it. To monopolize that much time and not have as much time for an interaction to really talk about mission and scope and timelines. That's the minus. The plus side, there seem to be a lot of well-intentioned people there. But time will tell. I didn't feel as supported as I would have liked, as a member of the master planning group in that session. It's just my individual thoughts. Having said all of that, I would not, as a result of anything I heard, recommend any changes to our mission, to our scope, or to our timeline. Now, there's going to be some coordination or not with Dick's Height. I mean, I don't quite know, but it would be nice if there was some coordination and, some things that they're going to work on, we're going to work on. But since a contract has not been signed yet, to the best of my knowledge, with Dick's Height, and we have a schedule that we need to go do, I think we need to keep pressing along.
Can I add
I
something there?
thought CCDD signed a contract.
Yeah.
Well, I don't, only for $30,000 for the initial scope, not for the entire contract. At least when I asked that question to a member of CDD 5 days ago, I was told not signed yet.
Can I add something to what you just said?
Yeah.
At the board meeting the day after, and Katie helped me fill this in because I won't do it justice. I asked the board, I said, based on the CDD meeting, the CDD joint meeting, which I have very similar sentiment as you, does the board still want the master plan advisory group to continue? And it was a very strong and unanimous yes. Nothing is to change in what the scope is, what the deliverables are, anything at all. It's to continue as it is because we're moving at a different pace and speed. And there are things that we're going to be able to do and can do independently of anything that they're doing anyway. Did I say, am I missing something?
Board members also stated they felt like the master plan advisory group is more valuable to the association than what Dick's Height is. And yes, what Jared said, basically, also there were things that coming from you guys that will be probably executed in the next 6 to 12 months. Otherwise, things from Dick's Heights plan could take like 12 to 24 months. So that's also part of the value that they see in having this advisory group.
And this was a unanimous opinion of the board too, which was surprising to me, but the entire board, all 7, felt that this needs to continue and provide.
So I'll open it up to members and anybody who wants to speak up here in the room, feel free to. Alec? You had your hand up, I could tell.
Oh, my hand was up. No, I think, I don't want to comment on the meeting. I think that the presentation could have been more workshopy, right? I think that was probably, could have provided more benefit for the groups, but I understand that they wanted to share what their consultant was looking at. I don't know if this is the question, but I think I stated it in an email. We are going to have different things, just like you said. We're going to provide a list of things that will be somewhat more manageable. Some are going to be larger that we won't be able to do, but no matter what we produce, I think it's either input to complement or it's progress forward. So, my opinion is we stay the course and finish what we have. I don't think it's an extraordinary amount of work. I know we probably are all a little bit behind. Joanna started us off and I've got a little bit of work to do on some of the stuff I have, but it can only complement the work that Dick's Height is going to do. And I believe that that's the mission. The mission is that these two groups, these two entities work together, and that's the convergence point. So it's an output from us is an input to them, as well as an input to CROA, because that's, our responsibility. And, I don't think we'll duplicate work. So that's kind of.
Okay, Joanna, then Mark.
Someone else go,
Brian. This is my last part. Basically, everything I'm going to do, they're going to do. So personally, I'm going to end up drawing a lot of things. that I could simply tell them where to put it and what to do. So in terms of what I'm doing, just because I'm gonna make sure it works, I'm gonna end up drawing stuff that is part of their scope. So in my case, now it's all stuff I would have told them at some point, but I'm gonna end up drawing things and doing things that I otherwise wouldn't, which I already started doing after you guys made it very clear we want to continue going. I'm gonna continue going, but it is an extra amount of work on my end, certainly. And just because when I draw something, I need to make sure it works, which means it is to scale. It does mean everything else. And they're being paid to do it. There's no point of consultants. So it is what it is from that standpoint on my end of it. That doesn't mean we shouldn't stop somehow. A few of my thoughts are, I hope they really do mean it, working with us, and involving us in the process. If not, there's literally no point to, who knows what they're doing at that point. If they aren't working directly with us, get our input, as people have already kind of asked all the same things. As a matter of fact, I made it clear, at least Greg Feilack in an email, that the scope they have for the architects are part of their team looking at this building, that's completely unnecessary. Because that scope is in the RFP. That's included with what Pro is going to do. So they have pieces of scope they don't even need to touch. So anyway, I don't mind keeping on going, but it is definitely, there's things I'll be doing, they're drawing things or whatever else that, oh, they get to react to it. So that's.
Well, I feel like we have the upper hand with the survey results. Do you think that Dixite would do their own survey, or
Yeah.
CCDD would do?
They said they were going to, but they also said that this survey was the information they needed, so.
Conversation I had since we took their input, I mean, remains to be seen. What worries me is just, again, we're gonna do what we're gonna do. It looks pretty dull. If I'm a citizen and I say, okay, now can you do a survey? And half the questions have to be the same, you know, and then we'll do some different ones. They did have in there, because I wrote down that they're gonna do a 2-day public workshop. You know, they are gonna do community meetings and then I'm sitting there saying, didn't they already do it? Now that's CROA, not CDD. You know, people say, but you just did it. Well, and I understand why we don't have to get into the political side of it. But that's why I just think we do what we're gonna go do and get it done. And then, and if it's done well enough, there's smart people like with Mark's thing that they'll take the information and they'll use it because they're smart people. They're not going to repeat things. So if we do a good enough job with a lot of the items, if they want to take it, you know, and use it, then that's to the betterment of the community. It, you know, allows Dixite to leverage and maybe do some things that we don't have the scope, you know, or the time to do. Then that would be time well spent as opposed to duplicating, you know, things. But
I would want to look at what, so if you read the deliverables that we are to provide, a comprehensive report with narrative and graphics detailing the process, outlining the data gathering methods, data schedules and reports, findings and outcomes, phasing, recommendations and challenges, and implementation strategy, plus a phase timeline for 3, 5, 10-year plans, broad budgetary overview of proposed elements, maps and plans, executive summary of the comprehensive report, and then the visual presentation and the recommendation report for the last two, the visual presentation and the recommendation, that's not duplicative. But as we start thinking about that comprehensive report, the plans, the budgetary, like there's two groups of people doing the same things. And it is, we're just want to call out like where there's redundancy, because if they have the staff to go look at all of the financial impacts and all of that, that's what they do for their day job. While we're trying to do this and taking time from our families and volunteering, and we all signed up for it. So I'm not saying, but I'm just like, we're just pointing out that that's their job and they're going to do it faster and they have more resources to do it.
But they're also not on contract.
Yeah, so two thoughts to that. Maybe we can revisit kind of what that deliverable.
Yeah, that's
looks
what
like.
my
I think
concern
that's
is.
maybe a question that we can poke at a little bit, but I think that, yes, they don't have a contract yet. We don't know when they're going to get a contract. They're working on that. They're thinking about it, but we don't lose momentum in the community. So look at this as a comprehensive viewpoint, is as they're thinking about some of that stuff, keep the ball rolling, right? So it's a little reverse where they were running really fast. Now they're thinking about some things, which is fine, right? Again, these two groups have to complement each other in our efforts. And I think if we keep going, then the ball keeps moving and then they can pick it up wherever that might be. If that's the decision that's to be made.
Did they actually bill CCDD for the meetings that they were in for the survey?
I would assume so.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
they did.
So
Was it like
the-
20?
So the contract has four components. This is my unofficial interpretation of it. It's got two fixed price scopes. One's for 200-something thousand, the other's for 100-something thousand, and that adds to 375,000. They then have a time and material component billing from $125 to $250 an hour. And then they have a snap out front end, which was signed for, I think, 20 or 30,000 to do some upfront work. And for reasons I don't want to share publicly, that there's a reason why they're doing it in phases. As opposed to just signing the contract now, it has to do with their ability to get confirmation on space available before they commit their site to go do certain scopes of work. So they're doing I think, which makes sense, a phased approach to it. But I think Krista raises a great point because I went through today, and you have families I have done, Dick's Height, their deliverables, there's 15 deliverables they have there. And if you look at those 15 deliverables and our deliverables, they are somewhat similar, but they'll do a much deeper dive in certain areas, looking at national standards or whatever, especially as it relates to potentially a community center. If that's something that they, ends up going on their side of the ledger as opposed to the CROA side, they'll obviously do a much more detailed piece of work than the great piece of work that Mark's already done. So I think more to be revealed. I did, and I'll hand it out at some point here, just lay out what I think our tasks are remaining between now and the end of August, and who's supposed to be working on them. And it's consistent with everything that we're doing, but I'd open it up to, and I don't know if you got a chance to, good, Jen, Marco.
Yeah, I would just like to say, my biggest concern is for the residents, right, getting confused. And so I think we should at least continue to have communication direct with Dick's Height. If we could, I would again volunteer my time to do that. Go to the CCDD meetings and just to keep us in tune with what they're doing. We should go down our path. I agree 100%. But again, for the residents, if we're going to be having a session with residents, which I thought was in our,
To say, here's our master plan.
here's our master
And
plan.
then there's,
Yes, and then, so, okay, thank you.
Yeah,
then there's another.
Here it is in PowerPoint.
but
feedback.
if they agreed to come to that meeting just to be part of it, I don't think that would be terrible.
Well,
At least the residents would see.
And no, they have to see this, they have to see this. So if it were something that we were going to present, we can easily be transparent to say, there are other efforts that are happening. And so we'd like to introduce, our peer.
Yeah.
Who's, also working to advance other things or similar things. So I think there's language there we can easily introduce to people are going to be confused no matter what. They're just, they don't get it, and that's fine. But we can do our best to at least draw the bridge so that things don't get way out of whack.
Jared, can I ask that you approach whoever it is, Dave or whomever, with CDD, to ask, to say it's our request to be able to interface with Dick's Height, to see if they're okay with that or if they have a recommendation. Because the first time I mentioned that months ago, that they didn't even have a contract with them. And I think they also wanted to be in the middle of that relationship, which I could kind of understand why, for a bunch of reasons, especially if they're being built time and material, and we spend lots of time with them. But if we could just ask how they would like to handle that, and if they say they don't want us talking directly to Dick's Height, then that raises a kind of a red flag, because it's kind of hard to coordinate with somebody. So we just need to ask.
I would phrase that in a more pull relationship than a push, because I think the concern is that now you have these 10 volunteers who are all going to start talking, like going and taking that time. So if it's more when they have questions or when they're starting to look for things, they can, like, we're step one, versus, because we can provide a lot of the information we've already gathered for residents. And I think we have a pretty representative group of the community as well within our team. So if we are step one versus broad everywhere else, because I think that's the concern, because I mean, we all know, we've all seen it, where as soon as you open the doors, everyone's making a phone call.
Yes, comma, except, two things. One, they have some national data, like we got 2 PowerPoint charts so far on the national comparisons. I have a feeling they have more data than that. Second, as let's just pick out Joanna, as Joanna's working on splash pads, they probably know or can open up a binder, just like Marquette, over a binder and say, here's how much it costs to build a splash pad or a basketball court or something, because they may have a bill. So as we're doing our project plans individually, we can coordinate that also. We don't have.
Yeah, I would consolidate that into a single.
Sure, we can consolidate and say, here's the list of, and submit it to them even in writing, right? Here's,
Yes.
do you have experience as to how much it costs to build a basketball court, how much it is a splash pad, or whatever. So as you do your project plans that are coming up on the next topic for the 16 projects, I think that's a good point. Start coming up with questions for data where you think Dick Site may be able to help support you.
So
Well, it's
question,
almost like the survey, like we were almost completed with the survey. Here's the survey. Do you have any feedback? They took a day and they gave us the feedback.
And this time we get a couple of weeks.
so I'm happy to make that ask, and I don't think that's gonna be a problem because they've expressed that before. Do you want it to be through like a single coordinator like Jim? Or do you want everyone to be?
Yeah,
able to
I think we should want it to be.
I can find out.
It'd be 2 or 3 people, right? You don't want to have it all be necessarily Jim, or can you, right? If Jim wants to be the person, to be Jim.
Well, who gets
I'm
the
just
money
volunteer.
goes to CCDD?
I think you just want to set the
Personally,
expectation.
I think it ought to be open that if we want to attend something, we do.
No,
No, this isn't about attending.
No, this is on a written,
Just the
a written,
communication.
this is just on a data request,
Okay.
right? Like I've got a list already of 3 or 4 items. But that-
So we would consolidate that and have, if it's Jim,
Right.
Jim would send that over to
Can
Dave.
we find out who they're, no, I would ask for it to be directly with Dick's Height, because if we're
Yes.
working together,
Yeah.
then we're working together.
Yeah.
And so Jim would work with whoever Dick's Height appoints that's their person for this. And that would be the communication.
And then you and Dave copied.
I'm afraid of
Sure.
that though, because CROA is not signing the contract. So then, like, for us to say, we want you to do work on our behalf,
That's right.
that has to
Yeah,
go
I
through
wouldn't-
Dave.
I wouldn't-
Go through.
They're not gonna.
For them to reach out to us as volunteers, that doesn't have to go through anyone, but because they
But
are a paid
but
It
party.
does, because you being volunteer, yeah, but they're gonna be asking staff for facility use and budgets, and like, there are things that are gonna cost us money, so it will work both ways.
Well, then you
let's
put someone
establish-
in
you know what to
between
do?
both,
Let-
but
But let's ask,
Yeah.
you had the same concern I do. Let's ask them.
Yeah.
And let's see how they respond. I think.
Well,
that's-
and the ask is, how do you want to move this forward? We're gonna have questions for you. You're gonna have questions for us.
yeah.
What's that interface?
Right.
And pose it as a question, knowing that we know that they're gonna want, they're paying, we're gonna ask questions of their paid resources, and they're gonna ask questions of our paid resources.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, Marco, do you have any comments?
I agree with Jim when he said about the presentation about CCD, and as is a good idea to get close, like Jared said, work with Dixie Height. It'll be a little complicated, but it's hard to say. But I like the idea to do. If he has time enough to do that, it'll be amazing. First of all, financing and already go there.
You're retired, right?
Semi.
Okay, so yeah,
The master plan of them, there's a lot, there's a lot of us here.
Krista, did you?
You know that, right? You know that.
I would say in my In my perfect world, we would look at what the deliverables are and apply appropriate effort. So evaluate that and decide what is the appropriate level of effort, because what I would have read this in and signing up for this as a professional, I would expect that we would be delivering something very like to the level that we would all be proud to deliver as part of our jobs. But knowing that someone else is going to do that work too, what's the appropriate level of effort for us? And that appropriate level of polish. So that's what I would ask. And then also define what does that look like going forward and how we work together, because understanding how we're going to work together and how we're going to provide input also will lend itself into some of the stuff that we build and we deliver, because then we know what the next step is. And as we start talking about, I would even like start looking at what does the committee look like, because I feel like we're still not even we're not at a committee level until that final plan. I know it's two different groups, but we got to stop saying, like, I heard in multiple times in the board meetings, well, we're not paying for that. We are the residents. I don't care whether it's in Crow's pocket or CCD's pocket. They're both my pockets. So that message needs to stop. And then we need to understand how we're going to work together, because ultimately it is the residents and we are residents, and it doesn't matter which pocket, it's still my pocket. So.
Yep, that's a good point.
So let me ask you that, because I think as you read through the requirements of our deliverables and our expectations, I know it's not on the agenda. Is that something we want to look at and kind of?
Well, yeah, it's right here.
I think he has that as part of the
Yeah, I-
schedule type in the schedule discussion, maybe.
Yes, maybe it's C, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a few times, but so I
The
think,
calibration of what we're expected of, what's expected from us, and then what we.
yeah, let's get to it after we get to the projects. Because I have my view, but let's talk. Any other comments on last week's meeting? Anything else? Katie, I know this is not the time for public thing, but do you have any other comments on as relates to last Tuesday's workshop?
I'll just say I appreciate everything that you guys are offering, and the board after our board meeting, they also feel awesome. So thank you.
Well, Katie, I'm going to single you out because as best I can tell, keeping score, you've attended every meeting that we've had, and you happen to be the only, Jared doesn't count because he's a sitting member, the only board member who's attended every one of our meetings. So I thank you for that level of commitment and support. Okay. So two topics. So we have these 16 projects, right? We had last meeting, we listed 16 projects. I'll send a handout so it's easy to keep track. We had 16 projects. And we talked about the scope being, what's the project scope, the justification, potential locations, pictures, photos, layouts, etc. So let me just hand these out here. This just lists the 16. This is two things. For me, this is just, I wasn't even sure if I was going to hand it out, but this is just a summary of what I thought would be in our final report by topic, which should tie to, Krista, the list that you read off. And when you were reading it off, I didn't cross do it, and I think it comes pretty close.
One more down here.
One more. Okay. So this is split into three sections. One is what potentially would be in the report. So what I'd ask you to do is not now, but when you're, sitting home, relaxing, to say, hey, you know what, this is missing a topic. This doesn't have, or it doesn't say 3, 5, and 10 year. That was the one I didn't see there. Recommendations, and I think at one point we discussed maybe that we're not that smart. But this is though a list of, so our report, the final written report, would have the introduction, the objectives, the approach that we took in coming up with this report, the data that we looked at, what our findings and recommendation are, estimated cost. And I know at one point we said we're not going to talk about cost. We are. The more I thought about it, again, we have a side discussion on that. I think we need to, because everybody's going to say, well, we can't afford it. well, you don't even know how much it is. So I think to the extent possible, for many of these projects, we will have an estimated cost, and where we do, we should. Okay? Jim,
Question,
Yeah.
isn't town hall
that's all,
RC not considered in?
it's one of the 16, there's 16 projects, all 16 of those have costs. So that would have a cost. Right? May not have any idea what it is right now, so it may be blank pending RFP, right? So that would, could be a blank one. None of them, I don't think, right today, do we know what the cost is, but in the next 60 days, I think I wrote down all but 3, I think we could have an approximate range of what the cost is, and then we could have discussions. Anyway, and then I put reserve status, Jim, underneath estimated cost, and that means 2 things in my mind. I think it's somewhere in the report, whether or not it's in scope or out of scope, you all can decide. We just need to address the fact that when we do a project, either something we currently have, like this building, or something we are going to recommend doing, part of that cost has to be building a reserve, which is not necessarily a discipline that I think we always have had here in town for a variety of reasons. And then other considerations, I went through today, starting back with the 2010. Yes, there was something done in 2010, 2014, 2020, all the recommendations again, and then when it come up, all the same things. They some change, performing arts was separate. Now maybe it will be combined with the community center, but there's not a lot of new stuff here. The only stuff is that we haven't implemented, 90% of the recommendations over the last 14 years. Anyway, that's so park that off to the side, because right now we shouldn't be worried about that. I'm worried about that. I'm starting to collect a lot of that data. Okay. Where we are is what I labeled under the appendix of the report. Forget sections for a second. These are the 16 projects and who I believe owns them based upon the SharePoint. So if you think your name shouldn't be somewhere or should be somewhere, at this meeting, it would be helpful to speak up. I put 2 dates there. One is June 14th. For all of the possible projects, if we could have the first draft, that would be great. But if we could have them all by July 1st, so that's 30 days from now, because I know at the beginning, some people expressed that's a lot of work to do in a short period of time. But I think if we have all the data in by July 1st, I'm going to recommend, if Lauren's nice enough to give me a room here somewhere, there is space. If not, I have another place. And I'll sit there for the first 2 weeks of July and have time set up where people can come in nights during the day. And I'm just going to sit and work on collecting all of this, because I'll be gone much of the time in June. So if we can have all the data by July 1st, we then can consolidate, and then we can sit down and have those meeting discussions on prioritizing. But right now it's just data collection. So these are the 16 projects.
Hey, Joe, real
Yeah.
quick, I think there's 12. Am I missing?
Yeah, and why did I have 6? Why do I keep saying 16?
I just want to make sure we're.
Yeah, hold on a second.
It seems like the next page is the other 4.
Yeah, no, I'm so sorry. It's 12 projects. Okay, and it's 12 projects. We had 11 projects at the last meeting. Okay, I added one just because I didn't see it there, and we talked about not having it in scope. But as I just took a quick look at, Chris has got the raw data, but as I just eyeballed it, I mean, lots of people talked about the current conditions of the town, and we did that pretty big piece of work listing, projects that were not going to be in our scope. We just may want to
Just list them.
list them.
Yeah.
Okay, and
completely.
that's the new one that I added. The rest are repeat, and as I said, thank you for correcting me. There's 16 projects that I'm working on. There's 12 that are part of this. There's 4 other ones that I
On this, I should have brought this up at the
Yeah.
beginning of the meeting. Scott Reiki has resigned from this group. And so his will need to be reassigned.
Did they give a reason why?
Yes. He felt that the scope of the project is outside a level where he's able to add value. And he feels his continued participation may only slow the progress.
On sports,
Okay.
we had the one.
Didn't Scott help on,
Data.
the
Scott,
data?
Scott did a
Yeah.
magnificent piece of work.
Yeah.
It was a 40-hour piece of work that,
Yeah.
that was, I mean, a lot more output than a lot of, a lot.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Was that after the CCDD?
It was earlier today. That's very new.
if the group is okay with that, I'll reach out to him. Maybe see if we can.
Maybe we didn't give him enough kudos or something.
Okay, anyway,
If there's nothing else, tell him that we appreciate the work that he did and we valued his.
oh, for
Yeah, he
sure.
was definitely.
It's one of the 8
Yes.
inputs
Yes,
Yes.
very valuable.
for our efforts.
You were very valuable. Of course, we need you to do BS. No, that was a very good piece of work. And matter of fact, I pulled it up again today as I was looking at
Yeah.
that. All right. Fine. Okay, so anybody see your name where it shouldn't be? Anybody see a problem with by July 1st being able to do a scope of what needs to be done? It's at a minimum, right? If you can't make it as robust as you'd like, then that's okay. It's best efforts. Some, some are, I mean, Mark, I don't know how long he took, but he did this, beautiful layout of what the, that will be discussed for the next 2 years probably. But if you just had to go put a shovel on the ground, looks pretty good, right? And so that's, and there's 2 locations for it, A and B. That will be a long discussion by lots of people outside of this room, and inside on the left side of this room. And that's fine. So there's just, if we could do certain things like you did, I saw that picture of a splash pad. And it was, wow, that looks like a fun splash pad. Okay, right? And location is complicated for that because there's not an obvious one. So that's one you rack your brain on, try to come up with 1, 2, or 3 different.
Do we, so since we've met last, right, Joanna had shared
Yeah.
the template, right? And I've started to go through and build it for the ones that I have. But do we agree that that's a template that we all follow, at least at this point? And then, when we massage all of that stuff, maybe it will look different. But if we start consistent, that seems,
So that would be helpful only because when we're done on these 2 pages, it's all gonna look different.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
It won't make it look the same, but if you can start with similar templates.
Yeah.
Like Joanna did, and if you say, you know what, I can't do it for the basketball court because it doesn't make sense, then you don't. But if you can do it like that, it will just make it a lot easier for me when I try to.
So I've just grabbed what you sent, not even the template, like I've grabbed the actual file with the splash pad
Right.
and just started changing the pictures and changing the names and changing the write-ups. So I intend to use exactly what you had with content for the specific ones.
Well, I mean, then we're just consistent.
Right.
That's my intent as well. As I roll through it.
Okay,
And with your individual projects, some of them we did ask specific questions on, like the skate park, the community center, basketball, pickleball, lawn sports. I think those were all the big ones that we had. So if there's specific questions that you want survey data for, or an answer so that you can say that, well, 67% of whoever wanted blah, blah, blah. Like, if you want to add that kind of thing to it, just send those questions to me and I can put that together because I think
that's,
the pages we have on the survey, that's all gonna be pretty generic and general. And it's the general state of the survey, but not necessarily where, and it's putting everything together. But if like 80% of households with children wanted a splash
I
pad
think
or
I left
something like that.
mine blank
Yeah.
in regards to
Yeah,
Or
because,
survey results
because
and
it's not highlighted because the individuals, but yes,
or
but they
project
could,
interest from survey.
but you
I think
could-
you can-
for your thing, for whether that's for a basketball court or splash pad, say, hey, listen, for that, for the people who ranked splash
Yeah.
pad, could you tell me some, age demographics or whatever, or even in the silliest example, if everybody who said yes to a splash pad happened to be in Main Village, then you wouldn't put a splash pad in the North Village. Now,
Yeah, so if it's
Well,
like, I mean, I'll have the general stuff as we like talk about those things, but if you're thinking about, if there's something specific you want to add for color commentary.
Yeah.
To your project, we can at least look at the data and see if
Right.
see how that works together and if it meshes well.
I guess is there anything that on this list that, based upon looking at things, like only 2% of the people want, that we shouldn't even be working on it?
Not that low. There's definitely some nuances with things.
How many people voted for pickleball?
I'm dying to know that too.
I think that's
Anyway,
the entire room.
listen,
So the scenario that we worried about, I did check the data and did not come to fruition. So that was,
so
that was good. But it's not as,
my
yeah,
guess is,
it's all over the place.
it's gonna be,
People want people want different things.
but we're
So-
not gonna find, we're not gonna probably find that the survey in and of itself will issue a new set of data that's inconsistent with what's been done over the last 14 years.
I can tell you there was a clear winner.
Yes,
Everyone wants a community center.
Yeah.
So that's straight up clear winner. Nothing comes close to that.
Did we have any writing that was surprising, repetitive?
I haven't looked at that. I've mostly been looking at the quantitative versus the qualitative at this
so,
point.
so we'll,
If I can just ask on the community center, because we put all those little options in there and
Mhm.
people
Yes.
want it, that's gonna make a big difference in what the cost
Yeah,
sure,
Mhm.
could
Yep.
be.
Yep.
On it.
Right.
And so we can get general, like Dick's Heights talked about, well, $12 to $15 million for a center or something.
Well, but I think with what Mark lays out, it'll be a square foot. So if you want a community center that's 10,000 square foot or less, it's gonna be this
it's gonna be
range.
$400 a square foot, and
Exactly.
if you want to make it 10, 12,
That
or
might be your
15,000
breakpoint, yeah.
feet, because you want bigger classrooms or bigger performing, somebody way down the line will be, that is, unless we want to spend a lot of time discussing that now. Don't need, probably get into the size of each room, other than to say, here's some, it can fit here, it can fit there, here's a great layout for it, right? Because that was very helpful just to see with the parking, and I'm sure the parking, there's enough parking spots legally to meet the square footage, and that it could fit in two different places. That's helpful to know. The other thing, again, it's not in yellow. We left out, proposed budget. But if you think, if you don't have any idea, that would be one you would send to Jim, saying, Jim, for splash pads, basketball court, skate park, whatever, can we ask Dick site? Okay, right, and
For the skate park, we can ask the design company that's here in Florida.
yeah, okay,
That I connected it to that
right,
email I sent.
good.
They can tell you the exact cost because they're design build all the way through.
Right.
And so you say we want one, it's kind of like one that exists and I pointed out that it's probably about the right size for this. They'll tell you.
Yeah.
Total cost.
Okay. Fine. So we've got 35 days to come up with as comprehensive as a package you can. I will then take those project summaries, right? And consolidate them along with all the other items up above. And then there's will be three kind of main events, 2, 3, 4 main events that will take place after July 1st. One is we have a community meeting on July 23rd. But at that meeting, we would come up with, here's what the survey said, here's what past data said, here's basically what we're concluding, right? And get some more community feedback. But at that point, we will have had, a fair amount of time to go through and analyze. So that's a major event. So the first major event is all the input should be done by July 1st. Second, July 23rd, community meeting. The third will be the first draft of the paper, the final report that I'm estimating is between 50 and 70 pages, is in early August. That's a draft. I said, well, wait a second, I didn't agree to that paragraph. You don't really have to agree to anything, it's just a draft. We'll then have some meetings for those who are in early August to discuss, prioritize, change, and then publish a final report along with the final community meeting towards the end of August.
Just saying one thing on here.
Sure.
Big deliverable was the recommendations for the ongoing committee or whatever comes next.
Yeah, I had, okay, yes, that was going to be covered under findings and recommendation in the main report. But
I would
But that's a
call
more
project.
detail.
But that's a project.
That's a
that's a
project.
project.
There's some,
Yes,
there's some scope narrative. that's-
yeah. There's more, right, there's,
I feel like being that it's called out as a deliverable in our resolution, that it should have its own, it needs its own line item here.
well, yes,
Yeah.
because you're absolutely right, and I'm wrong, because well, so, no, because I just said.
It's not zero sum here.
No. The point is, I said, it's covered in the recommendations.
Yeah.
The answer is, the way I envision that report is, here's what we concluded. Now, if you'd like to see the details, you can go in the other, you don't have to read 65 pages to find out what all the answers are. The answer is, we've agreed that we need to have an ongoing support of strategic plans, and to see what that looks like, go to page 67 and you can see the schedule, the composition, whatever it happens to be. So we need yes. So that is another project. So I'm working my way from 12 to 16. Does somebody want to volunteer to work on
We
that?
already signed, that one's signed out too. That's on the deck. I don't know how much, I'm on my work computer because I have data, so I don't have my other stuff with me.
Okay.
I think we gave it to Jim because he wasn't here.
Yeah.
Just say, I think that is.
That is
I think you're right. It was Jim and Paul.
I was in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, so.
That's it. We did that too. Yeah, Jim, that's Jim. Thank you, Jim.
I think you were on there too.
No, I wasn't.
It might have been me and Jim. I don't remember.
I think it might have been Paul.
Was,
No,
oh,
I know my name was on.
I think
okay.
it was Jim.
It was Jim and Paul.
Well, yeah, because Paul, yeah. Yeah, Paul, because Paul's a little light on here. Okay, maybe I can see what Paul knows about lawn sports.
Yeah,
No,
anybody has any clue that one that's lost?
well, but again, you don't have to have something that, we do with certain people here.
Yeah.
Okay, but I don't think we have any subject matter experts on lawn sports, so somebody just has to pick it up and get educated on.
The platform of a scope of work, a narrative that describes what we're looking to accomplish, the justification of why. I mean, these are not things that you need to be an expert in
No, but
anything.
But my guess is if you got the name, there's I see them out there, the croquet league. There's a guy who runs that. They say, hey, listen, could you
They recruit you?
X, Y, and Z?
Did they recruit you?
They did. They said it was too old. And the same thing with bocce. There's probably 3 people who could tell you
Yeah.
more than you'd ever want to know.
And that's all we're looking for this
Yes,
liaison
yeah,
is,
yeah,
okay,
just can you tell us what it would
because
look like?
if we said we're gonna put more soccer fields and we didn't talk to Marco,
Yeah.
then
Right, it's silly.
we're blocked.
Right, so guys would say, like, I need 18 feet by 5 feet, and I'd like to have 3 of them by 3, because because it's 2 teams, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, I need 3 of those. And now you know you need 80 feet by 60 feet, and and a lot of sand. and-
For any of these, my plan is just sit there with Google Earth and just drop things down on things. So if anybody has anything that you have an idea of where,
Yeah.
just let
So
me know and I'll
whoever picks that up,
come up with
drop
something.
it in the team chat.
Some help about where.
Sure.
First slide.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I was only.
hers is different. No, he said, you got 2 different issues. You've got to figure out a spot. He's more than willing to help you with the,
Oh, the drawing.
The drawing, but
The lakeside kitty.
Yeah.
yes, we all.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's the one.
exactly
and
right.
only.
That's what we said on our tour.
Yeah.
Yes,
That was
because
the
it's
To me,
got the plumbing in there,
heritage
it's got the
and-
location,
Yeah,
it's got
it's
everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
plumbing.
Because you decide to go put an East Lawn and be like, well, then you gotta.
So then I can
have
send you, I
filters.
said, hey, can you do a drawing of it?
That's a great idea.
Like,
Yes.
So,
Okay.
so let's think about this cadence, right? Because we've got Mark who's gonna be assisting with, let's call it general layout and scaling.
I'm gonna make little pictures and scale it correctly and make sure.
Keep in mind, Mark's already got 5 projects.
Right.
No, I know, but I'm
Right.
gonna, I have, it's actually easy once I get rolling to do it. And it's really easy for me to find things that are right size. I'm not busy right now, so I have a small window here to actually do this.
Hey,
That's
hey,
fine.
everybody-
That's accurate. Send it to me right now.
Now,
But that's what I'm,
some.
Yes.
but that's how, how do we want to flow this
Yeah.
train of communication? Because Mark's gonna be on that side of it, Krista's gonna be on the data side. This is a suggestion, I don't know if it works for us. Do we just put a Word file in it? And we just all add to that and you guys check them off as you go through? Or is emails random? Flying all over.
So I had 2 schools of thought on that, because I thought about this today. I was gonna send a note to us. I say, can you set up a place for us to dump it? But we already have a place.
Team side, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but the problem is, I was in there today trying to find the 2010 report. It's kind of well set up, but it is kind of onerous. So we have 2 schools. We could just put another workspace there for saying, final input, final project
Yes.
summaries.
Final.
Okay,
final.
so I'll ask, or Lauren, can you ask, I don't know,
Jose.
Jose, or somebody who can help us?
Well,
Just
We
We can do
that, right?
Yeah,
We can set up a folder,
Yeah.
yeah, but I'm thinking it's just like a simple list where it's not an email,
If we do like an Excel sheet or something, it's not like we can, I mean, yeah.
right? Because then they can go to one source and they don't have to chase
Well,
emails.
Okay, I got 2 different things.
Well,
One
what do
is,
you prefer? Do you prefer email?
I have a real difficult time interfacing with this because I have to screw up everything in my computers, depending on which one I'm using to get mapped to stuff correctly. What I will say, if I'm sent a link to where stuff will be, that's what I need. So I don't care how it's done. I just need somebody to send me a link to it.
so I recommend that in our Teams folder, we set up a new tab,
Mhm.
and everybody can submit their
Reports,
their
data sheets.
their project summaries.
Yep.
Okay, and when you send it there, you can say, hey, Mark, I just submitted mine, but page 2 is blank, which is, can you take page 3, the picture, and plop it down at one of these 2
And tell
locations?
me what you need. or
Tell you
what you think.
Right, and now you could do the
Anything
directions
else,
to
just-
Mark through email with the link to the.
And always send the link, right? Because I think that's what you're
Send me a
saying.
link as well.
Yeah, send a link.
Yeah, send me a link.
Send a link and email, but then in general, if anybody wants to go see the 13 projects, they could go into this
This
folder.
folder and they'll all be there.
They'll be there.
Feel free to add or restructure the teams however you need to do. for all
We
these.
did a little bit, right? So we have
Okay.
committee work, right? And so we'll just add another folder
Yeah.
within that and
And
keep it
then,
clean.
and then as I start to compile the draft to the final report, it will also be there. So anybody can go in and look, maybe not necessarily start changing it, but go and look and see what's there to say, wait a second, we're missing a topic. This doesn't look right, et cetera. Okay,
Real quick on
Yeah.
skate park, Krista, and for you and Alex, Lauren's going to look at insurance implications of that, because the last time this came up, it was like a deal breaker. So I was just gonna get what that really
Hunter's
looks like.
Creek put theirs in.
Yeah, but
6 years ago.
skate park is changing a lot. Now they have a new, how can I say? It's not ramps. Now you can have like a solid D circuit,
Uh-huh.
like cross bike or something like that,
Oh.
or skateboards. They are
But it's
changing a
not
lot.
just
The
free.
mentality is changing a lot.
so
Is it unincorporated or incorporated?
Well, all we're gonna do is find out what it costs to insure.
That's fine.
Oh,
Okay.
That's
it
it.
doesn't
what,
matter.
what,
No,
Oh.
they may come back and say,
Additional information.
yeah,
Okay.
it's part of the budget.
it may kill the idea, but we're gonna proceed as if, continue to proceed because we should. And
We have
then
to present the information.
gotta
Right.
present the information.
Yeah,
And
and
then-
Yeah, the
That the
president-
cost of it
It's not that I'm
includes
saying I
this
don't
much
care.
insurance.
I don't
Pros and
care what
cons
the number
may
is.
be
I'm gonna
okay.
include it because it's information that needs to be associated with the,
Right.
like, it's something that's good information.
And it may
Yeah.
be, it's prohibitively risky and expensive, and by the way, it came in last place in the survey, so therefore, while we looked at it,
There is no survey.
is it in the survey? Yeah, I think it is,
Yeah.
but whatever, it could be first in the survey, last in the survey,
Here's
wherever
what
it
is.
happens to be. It would be that, whatever that information is, you'd pile and then you'd say, okay, pencils down on that, or pencils down on, splash pad, or pencils down.
It's definitely not the top half.
I guess what I'm curious about with it is, with that insurance thing, does it make a difference? To me, that's gonna end up being, if it happens, a CCDD thing. Personally,
Skate park?
so that's one of those, does their setup allow for that coverage easier somehow? As a less,
I would think
I'll
for
get
a
it.
public
I'll
entity,
get
they
it.
would have the limitations
Yeah,
on
because I'm on
liability
their
versus
group.
Yes,
privately owned.
right.
Okay,
Well,
Um,
considering it's Craig that has actually talked about it with me, I'd be curious.
That'd be great for them to do that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
well, I think it has to be, quite frankly, just understand where it's probably could be. I only see 3 or 4 spots that could possibly be in something.
Yeah.
You can say deal with.
In 2 of those 3 spots probably aren't the location that we would put a skate park.
It's kind of a leftover thing, kind of fits. And then you probably need a workshop to actually talk through some of these, of what we all think.
Yeah.
I think.
Let's put a skate park on a second deck of the dog park. Cool the dog park and also have skate.
We were talking about insurance a moment ago.
Yeah.
so,
Dogs are that fun.
so Marco, where I think, you've already sent some information, a month or 2 ago, but at one point we talked about, some of these, whether or not it's basketball courts or pickleball courts or outdoor lawn sports, that would be potentially in a campus, right? It potentially, that campus could be up at the civic corridor. So just as Mark has some downtime to see, I know already, maybe the work's already been done, but what could that look like? Right, if you bundled in, and that doesn't mean we're gonna do all of them, it just means you could put 4 of those in this space right here. And now if somebody only wants to do 2 of them for cost reasons or whatever, that's a different story. But here's what back to your right, because we're gonna look at this campus, the campus potentially for a community center, recreation campus, where we may decide to split it and put it in 8 different places, right? But to the extent we have some excess
So again, I
intelligence.
think we need a workshop or something where we just talk through each of these. As to me, pickleball still just needs to be on B and call it a day. It fits, it works. And
Okay,
it doesn't
well,
need to be anywhere
but
else.
So I think,
But do we all agree?
okay, but
Or somewhere
well,
else?
okay, and that's what I think we're going to do after we have all the data. Okay, and by the way, just for clarification, we're all not necessarily going to agree, and that's okay.
That's fine.
Okay,
that's
but
why
it's
I wanna
also,
talk
we
about it.
have a good discussion. We talked the pros and the cons, the champion of that project, right? The champion is, whether or not they even, it may not even be their favorite thing, but
Yep.
they're the champion of that, and they're gonna sit and kind of say, hey, I think we need to do pickleball here because of pros and cons, and I think we need to make it smaller, and then we can all agree or disagree. If we have a general majority, then it goes into the report that way, and we're done. And I think, I'm guessing, Mark, 80% of it is gonna go that easy. It's not gonna be a lot of discussion.
Julie, but it's
Agreed, but
Yeah.
So,
go ahead.
yeah, I mean, it's 2 different thoughts. If we understand that we need to build something dedicated 100% for pickleball, let be as Mark said. If we do like a multiple sports court, we can have pickleball, handball, futsal, we can have
Yeah.
basketball, we can have everything. I believe lot to be is more
Yeah.
for us.
Perfect.
So
But then,
that's.
that's great though,
Yeah.
because then you could say,
I
okay,
think what needs to happen is
Yeah.
there needs to be a mechanism for us to have that conversation. That's not not a formal meeting. It's more of just that conversation.
That's what I'm asking.
Yes.
for, so
Not-
that's for that.
Because
Yeah.
Then we
this
talk
isn't
about
the
it
place for that
no,
right now.
those are working sessions between the champion and 3 or 4 people, or 5 or 6, right? Or whoever, say, hey, listen, on Tuesday, we're gonna discuss,
Okay.
what a community center might look like, and Mark's done with this work for those who are interested. Feel free to come.
So I don't know if it's in July, right? I was looking at the dates.
Yeah.
July 1st is all compiled data.
Yeah.
I think it needs to be sometime in June. So if we had 2 sessions in June and we split it up, 6 and 6, and we say, okay, we're gonna take that time and just kind of workshop. Right? And I know that there's gonna be people in and out.
Yeah,
So
people that
so let's just, whoever can get there.
Right, and I was thinking that would I think it'd be great if people are ready. Certain people may not be ready till, I don't know, it's up to you all. Because so far, we only have had one person.
You don't have to be ready to have the discussion though.
No.
That's where.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you need to be.
Well, but you need to have a little bit more data to
The
have.
project
Yeah.
rep should be a little bit more informed than saying, hey, Mark, what do you think?
Yeah.
Well, I think we should do it, and I think
But we're supposed to have a first draft by June 14th.
it's right. So
Okay,
So everyone should be, like, if we're in the end of June, you should have it far enough along to be able to ask the questions. At least you have a template, so,
It's already at the draft.
Yeah.
yeah.
But I think that's, that's a very good point. So how do we have those?
well, let's say,
Arts
right,
and Clubhouse.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Or does Mark send out a couple days? Because I think Mark is key in this.
Yeah, I'm wide open, so if somebody just sets up something, I'll work around it. I'm
So,
about to be, I know I'm gonna get clobbered with work at some point, but I have some control over and knowing what to work around.
And by the way, of those certain ones, there's certain ones that are a little more important and complicated.
Yeah.
No disrespect to the East Lawn bathrooms, but that doesn't need to,
Yeah.
whoever's doing that is gonna.
That's a narrative.
yeah,
It's
so pick six, and let's get that on the calendar now to say, all right, June 11th.
It's literally the.
It's
Center,
basketball.
Basketball,
Pickleball.
pickleball, on sports, splash pads, paper, basically anything.
No, yeah, and I wanted to
But we
do.
can only choose so much.
So it's basketball, pickleball, lawn sports, splash pad.
Basketball, pickleball, baseball.
Why don't we
Well,
just prioritize the
yeah,
order
baseball
and we, if-
no
that
risk
way you know what the
in
next
it.
ones are if we have.
But town hall, we're not ready yet to have that discussion.
No,
No.
Okay.
that one's. on the-
So, but maybe community center. So maybe those are my list of the top 5 or 6: community center, basketball, pickleball, lawn sports, splash pad. I picked those.
Yeah, that's fine. And the community center, again, there's a couple different ideas what those are. So there's the activity center, and it's kind of this one that I've been drawing. And then there's that other aspect to it of how that breaks up teen center, senior center, community space. It's more like artisan.
I know somebody
Things like
mentioned
that.
baseball, but I think baseball's a little bit delayed because
Baseball's-
that's complicated. That's a bank shot with,
It's all wrapped into
yes.
everything else. The whole point of that exercise I did was to show that this building does not matter on.
For that discussion. It doesn't matter.
Property does not matter.
Which
It stays-
nobody had ever done that before.
I know.
They've been debating it, talking,
I knew
arguing.
it fit. I just finally wanted to
Right.
draw it. So, and I sent it to Greg, so he has that to know that here's how it works. And
So-
everything works right there. You
Right.
don't need
But
this.
so if we can,
That leaves this land for.
and if remediation is cheaper, which one would think maybe it would be than knocking down and building new, then you could do the remediation here, independent of, not dependent on,
Yes, correct.
which was several people in meetings have discussed. It'd be,
Yeah. And there's the square footage could be available on multiple floors of that to do it there if they had to.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's good.
All right, so now-
June 11th, that's a Tuesday. It's,
I'll not be here.
Can we do it since are you back on the 18th, Marco?
I'll be back in 16th, so 17th is Monday.
Yeah, can we do it the 18th? Because Marco's got a bunch of those that we just highlighted, and I'm back on the 18th.
I can be remote on the 18th. So June 18th,
June 18th, all we're gonna do at that meeting is kind of,
project debrief, what do we call it? Project summary,
yes,
right? For community center, basketball courts, pickleball, lawn sports, splash pad.
Yep.
We're gonna review them all. We're all gonna debate,
discuss,
discuss, and
Right.
agree, and then we're gonna kind of stamp them.
got it.
And then at that point, those 5 will then
Now,
fine tune a little bit and then be ready for July 1st.
and those will be easily on schedule for July 1st then.
Right.
But since those are bigger than the one person working on them, getting that input, so Chris,
Right.
it was a good idea, Mark. Okay,
So then the others,
June
It
18th.
is. What I was literally about to say is if you want to hedge your bets, just tell me now. And
You're gonna be busy by then.
Yeah.
Up about the
There's a bunch of stuff that I'm gonna do ahead of time.
But you can do all that ahead of time. This is us saying
Yeah.
nobody's done it.
Yeah.
Some of this I can move quickly to other things, the discussion about. The reality is I've already pulled pieces apart, so a good number of these that I can buy pretty quick. With some beverages at tavern, quite frankly, to get through it quickly.
So if we have folders for each project, then let's
Yeah.
just have the folder with the summary and then you can just drop things into the
Yeah.
folder. And then everyone will have to just make sure they're checking their stuff.
Is this a meeting here? You need a room for and everything?
No,
June 18th?
no.
You want a meeting here? You want to meet here? I don't think you want to meet here.
No, I
It's not
don't
very
want to
comfortable.
You know where I want to be? You know where I want to.
Celebration Brewery.
Celebration.
I like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. There or
Chicken
place closer to home for some folks,
Okay.
Okay,
somewhere else.
fine, okay. Any other topics or questions? So we have three things. Kristen's gonna work on analyzing the survey. If you have any requests, she'll also be reaching out to ask for help from some of you if you need to help her. You can do that individually or as a group.
Yeah, I'll just start I'll send out, I've got some high level stuff. I know we don't want to share numbers in a public forum till we've had the chance to look at them, which is why I've been cagey with the answers to questions that people have asked me. But I will send out the initial statistics that I found on several of the questions, and then we can keep going from there as we compile the information. We will publish the information about the survey and the data, but being in its raw state, a perfect example is like if you were to just go and sum a bunch of the things, when we rated things, we did it, rank them 1 through 5. If you don't take out the zeros or the nulls, then you've made your number seem more important when it's not, because they didn't care about that thing, and that's a 0 averaged into a 1 through 6. So like there's certain things that you have to understand about the data, which is why we're not just sharing the raw data at this time.
Will we share with Dick's Height? Will there be a period where we share with Dick's
Sure.
Height whatever data before we share with the community?
I guess that's.
Yeah.
our discussion.
I would think so.
And the data, we can't share this straight up raw data because it does have personal identifying information in it. So that's why I'm also not sharing like, just here's a spreadsheet of all the stuff to everybody, because you can put names. I mean, I've sanitized it to put into my workbook, but there is identifying information in there because we did have to make sure that we were sending it only to owners and people could only respond one at a time. So just that's why if people are listening or whatever and find out later, they're like, why isn't she answering the questions? That's why I'm not answering the questions.
Data in the wrong hands is dangerous.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
right.
There's a lot of data in there.
That's a lot of data, plus remember, we have eight different things, right? And so if you just put one out there, that doesn't necessarily mean if something is first or last in the survey, that it means we're definitely gonna do it or not do it. It's everything, is there space available? Is it, price? Is it, something consistent with, or the community's values, or all sorts of stuff, right? So we have to look at that and then decide. You just put it out there, but we will.
Yeah.
We'll be out there along with the rest of the report, but we're not going to hand out chapters one at a time publicly, because that's doing it to service, I think, to the community, to have them just, here's one piece. No, that's what we're getting. That's what we're asked to do. They gotta do
I have
that.
a question. Did people respond to how much are you willing to pay?
They did.
Oh, they did?
Okay.
Just a quick, the board approved like 4 or 5 shade structures a couple meetings ago. So you guys have
Oh,
that.
They did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Where?
East Village Playground, Island Village Playground, and the pool equipment at Spring Park and Island Village.
East Village Playground by the circular pool.
Yeah, the top lot,
And then
the Island Village Playground.
Island Village
How much
Playground.
was it?
Where's that? The small one behind the apartments?
No.
No.
it's a
Oh,
different-
the big one, by your house. Yeah.
Around,
Not for any of the pools.
not anything else.
There's no pool, there's
Okay.
I think we were talking about North Village was one of the
Yeah,
ones.
I just want to.
Yeah, thank you. All right. So, okay,
I'll send around what they.
Okay,
John, it was a lot. 300,000.
each,
No, total.
really?
Well. Considering prices.
Jeremy, listen, I live in a different world.
Yes.
okay.
One.
Yeah.
There were also pool structures, pool equipment covers too.
Yeah, Mark.
As I've been thinking about, it, there's big field in East Village. Anybody have any idea what heck the purpose, what things are done at that field? The
We
big
go
one
and play
that's
soccer.
With
With the back, with the baseball
that's the
backstop.
little back, yeah, the little.
Lawn sports.
lawn sports, yeah.
Yeah.
That's really all that's there.
In T-ball.
We've had football practices
Done
there.
football.
They have with the, what,
Something else wasn't
the
available.
lacrosse,
Dog training.
lacrosse,
Oh, done.
lacrosse is there.
Yeah, lacrosse, I haven't seen that as much. It's like
Like
some
football
small
practices.
practices.
Yeah.
As far as I can tell.
Right, but
Similar to what I think's behind Heritage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
pretty much just.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
the answer is,
cool.
you know, if, you know, as we play with the puzzle pieces,
Well, that's why I'm asking the
Right,
question. The only thing that's ever been identified is putting some bathrooms there, which yes, it definitely needs it.
Or what? Is your question.
Yeah.
But yeah, that field is huge and it's just simply not used correctly, and even for that.
yeah, but that should
T-ball
be.
thing is useless. All you do is chase balls into the woods. Yeah,
Is that field just as big as this field?
it's bigger.
It's bigger, right?
Well, not
Bigger
bigger
than
than
what?
Quarry. It's,
This- The
T-ball.
open field out here.
this one.
Between the baseball field
Different.
and the street,
Yeah.
that one.
Oh,
I would think.
this one's bigger.
I think this one, yeah, this is bigger up
This is
here,
bigger here.
but it's.
But
very large
it's a large field and you could, if we could recommend putting 3 things there.
Oh, yeah,
this
well,
list.
that's kind of it.
Right, and there'd be, like anything else, so yes, but how about lacrosse? Well, okay, but lacrosse would now have a problem, but 3 other groups
Yeah.
would not, have- you know, so
Sure.
again, it's,
I think you
it's-
can organize it so it all works. Right now, nothing is really defined in that field at all, so it's kind of a free for all.
they do.
Can we reserve
And
it?
is that
Can you reserve
centered?
that field?
T-ball
We do.
kind of reserves it. But lawn sports just has a standing
They just show up.
time that they show up and.
So if I reserved, just a question, I'm not gonna do this, right? If I reserved it at the same time
It's
that
all set.
lawn sports,
And I'm gonna get 300 emails.
and I'm not gonna do that, but,
Talking about the
but they're just the process,
Their
right?
process of-
So because we do through Nikki, we reserve it for T-ball on Saturday mornings and some practices, but others don't, they just show up.
Yes.
So,
What would you like to see to improve that thing? That does not work.
So like lacrosse used
Like
to
it all
rent
be
the
a different
CCFC fields.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they've kind of migrated away from that because they're not as large and they don't need as much space. So they don't
That's all my son did
necessarily
is
need. a
they were
full
off in the
situation,
woods.
they're just showing it.
So they don't use that field that much
I wanna
anymore?
move it.
They don't use CCFC very much anymore.
What's CCF?
The soccer fields or.
Oh, okay.
the
Also,
community field.
Lauren just looked up, the shade structures were 70,000. So
for all of them?
Oh, wow.
That's
I know.
not good.
So
It's not
that's
a
the
good
same
thing.
look I just gave her. And I said,
Yeah.
what did we approve?
I knew it wasn't 300.
Yeah.
You gotta put sonnet, I mean, you're essentially putting what the school put out.
That's
here.
exactly what she
Yes,
said.
It's out, it's the same idea as what's out at the Island Village K5.
How long is it?
So do you have to take them down when a big storm
A
comes
year?
through?
I mean, your foundations have to be certain size and then you have uplift for it.
Okay.
7
All right.
grand for 4 of them.
Any other
Your
questions or
design's gonna be 70 grand.
topics? Okay, so we've got a lot to do in the next 30 to 45 days. We'll, we need to go do in terms of, project summaries, surveys, some workshops, to discuss those 5 key topics in 3 weeks. And, sounds good?
Can I summarize a few things?
Yeah.
In total, so I'm gonna create some folders on the team site, and that's gonna be for the projects.
Yeah.
And then we're going to, as we need the support, send it to Mark or send it to Krista with a link so that they can go assist. Mark will drop things into the specific project plan folders as he independently works on that. Krista will continue on the data analysis. June 14th, our draft project plans are due, project summaries are due. And we're gonna look on around the 18th, I think we said the 18th, but not here, where we're gonna look at community center, basketball courts, pickleball, outdoor lawn sports and splash pads to collaborate together, decide, agree, stamp them. July 1st, all are due. Community meeting, July 23rd, which is gonna be a conclusion of our findings, kind of a peak. First draft of the report, early August, published report late August.
Yep.
And then Joe sent, or has this.
Yeah.
I had some initial thoughts, so anybody who has notes on order of,
Stuff, send it directly to
we'll
me.
send it to Joe.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening.
Can I make a
Yeah.
suggestion before we finish? So,
Yeah.
Can we send a letter or an email to Scott saying that he's important for this group? We recommend you.
Yeah, I was gonna call him.
Thank you so
I'm
much.
gonna call him. I had that as a. Yeah. Yeah, because, get them back, and if not get them back, let them know how much we appreciated everything we did. Yes.
Yep.
We do.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you,
Joe.
everybody.
Thank you.